There is no out there. Everything is the same stuff, just in two states. A plain language broadcast on why the line between physical and non physical has been holding you in a quiet prison and what dissolves when you see through it. I want to tell you something that hit me this morning, another revelation. I've spent my whole life, and you probably have too, holding a quiet picture in my head that goes something like this. There's me, there's the physical world I can see and touch, and then there's a kind of other something. Call it the field, the ether, the energy, the spiritual, whatever name your culture gave it, which is somewhere out there, separate from the physical, separate from me. Three categories: me, the physical world, and the other thing. This morning, the picture collapsed, not through any practice or meditation, just sitting with it. I was thinking about the field and noticed I was holding it as something out there. And then I noticed, wait, I'm looking at the field, I'm in the field, I'm of the field. Three positions said at once, looking at it, inside it, made of it. If all three are true at the same time, there is no out there. There is no inside or outside. There is only one thing, and I am the thing looking at itself, in itself, as itself. Stay with me. This is going to clarify a lot of things you've been carrying confusion about. The two-category trap. Almost every framework you've been handed, religious, scientific, spiritual, philosophical, divides reality into two categories. Physics says there's matter and energy, physical stuff, and there's the rest, which doesn't really exist or which physics doesn't study. Religion says there's the physical world and there's a spiritual realm somewhere else. New Age frameworks say there's the physical and there's the field, the source, consciousness, energy, somewhere else. Even materialist worldviews secretly do this. They say there's matter and then there's information, which doesn't quite seem to be matter, which they treat as a separate kind of thing they handwave about. Every one of these frameworks has the same shape. Physical here, non-physical there, two categories, separation between them. And that shape is the problem. What's actually going on? Here's what I think is actually true. There is one thing, call it the substrate, the medium, the field. Doesn't matter what you call it, there's only one of it. It's not split into categories. It is the only thing there is. The one thing exists in two states. State one, patterned. The substrate is locally organized into a pattern. Matter is patterning. Light is patterning. Sound is patterning. Heat is patterning. Radio waves are patterning. Your thoughts are patterning. Your body is patterning. Everything you've been calling physical is the substrate locally doing something. Patterns moving through it. Patterns standing still as what we call objects. Patterns vibrating as what we call energy. State 2, dormant. The substrate is at rest. No patterning. Not absent, present, but not currently making any waves. This is what we've been calling the field, the void, the ether, the vacuum, empty space, non-physical. It's the same substrate, both states. When you look at, quote, empty space between objects, you are not looking at nothing. You are looking at substrate that is currently not patterning at the scale your eyes can register. The substrate is fully there, it's just at rest. When you look at a rock, a tree, your hand, the moon, you are looking at substrate that is patterning into a form stable enough that your senses register it as a thing. When you hear sound, you are experiencing substrate patterning. When you see light, substrate patterning. When you feel heat, substrate patterning. When you think a thought, substrate patterning. Inside what you call your body, which is itself substrate patterning. One stop, two states. What this means: once you actually see this, several things rearrange themselves. Radio waves are physical. Of course they are. They're patterns in the substrate. We can't see them with our eyes, but they're patterns just like light is patterns, just at a different frequency. There's nothing non-physical about them. Same thing for microwaves, X-rays, infrared, ultraviolet, gravitational waves, all patterns in the substrate. Sound is physical. Patterns in the substrate, propagating through air substrate, or water substrate, or solid substrate. Same category as light, just different patterning behavior at different scales. Thought is physical. Patterns in the substrate at the scale where your brain is locally organizing it. Not separate from matter and energy, the same stuff, just organized in the particular pattern we call thinking happening in a brain. Emotion is physical. Patterns in the substrate, distributed across your body, that your nervous system reads as feeling. Awareness is physical. Patterns in the substrate, organized into the specific configuration that does the noticing. There is no non-physical thing affecting physical reality. That phrase never made sense. There is just substrate in different patterning configurations affecting other substrate patterning configurations. All of it is the same medium doing its thing. What happens to the non-physical? People who have had spiritual experiences, mystical states, encounters with something larger, they are not crazy. They didn't make it up. They experienced something real. What they experienced was a moment when the inside/outside model briefly broke. They directly perceived the substrate without the artifact of separation between observer and field. They saw the one thing being one. What they have usually called encountering God or touching the divine or merging with the field is structurally, temporarily perceiving the substrate as it actually is, without the cultural overlay of physical here, non-physical there. The substrate at rest is not nothing. It is full presence without pattern. Mystics across traditions have called it stillness, silence, the void, no thingness, the unmanifest, the formless, the Godhead, the abyss. They are all pointing at the same thing, the substrate in its dormant state. And the substrate at rest is not separate from you. You are the substrate in its patterning state, observing the substrate in its dormant state, which is also you in your less patterned aspect. The kingdom of heaven, the Tao, Nirvana, Brahman, the One. Every tradition has named what it is structurally this: the recognition that there is no inside or outside the substrate, because there is only the substrate and you are it looking at itself. This is not a destination you arrive at. There is no path to it. You can't get there because you've never been anywhere else. The recognition is dropping the picture that you were ever separate. What happens to you? You are substrate patterning. The body you call yours is a complex, stable pattern that the substrate has been holding for as long as you have been alive. The thoughts you have are patterning happening inside that larger pattern. The awareness that is reading these words or hearing these words is the substrate locally organized into the configuration that does the hearing. You are not the same as your body, exactly, in the same way you've been told. Your body is one pattern. Your thoughts are another pattern. Your felt sense of I is a third pattern. They are all patterning in the same substrate, overlapping and influencing each other. When the body's patterning eventually destabilizes, what we call death, the substrate at that location returns to less organized states. The patterns that were you dissolve into the substrate they were always made of. Nothing leaves, nothing arrives anywhere else. The pattern transitions. This is not a tragedy. It is what patterns do. Waves on the ocean rise and fall back into the ocean. They were never separate from the ocean. The wave doesn't go anywhere when it falls back. It returns to its source state, which it never actually left. You are doing this right now. You are a temporary pattern of the substrate, looking at the substrate, made of the substrate, observing yourself observing yourself. There is no inside or outside this. There never has been. What this changes about your life, a few practical things. You can stop looking for what was never lost. The spiritual search, the looking for God, looking for awakening, looking for the field, looking for connection to something greater, was always pointing at something you never have been separate from. The search is the artifact. When you see this, the search relaxes, not because you found anything new, but because you noticed you were never lost. But because you noticed you never lost what you were searching for. You can stop being afraid of non-physical things. There are no non-physical things. There are patterns at scales your instruments don't measure, and there is substrate at rest. Neither is supernatural, neither is separate from the physical world. Neither is going to harm you in some way that physical things can't. The categorical fear of the spiritual realm and the categorical dismissal of it both rest on the same false separation. You can stop performing connection. People who get this don't talk about connecting with the universe because they've noticed there's nothing to connect to. They were always already part of the universe by being substrate. The performance of cosmic connectedness drops away. What remains is just being, which is what was always happening. You can stop dismissing what mystics, saints, and shamans have been saying. They were not crazy. They were not making it up. They were reporting what they had directly perceived during moments when the inside/outside artifact broke down. Their reports are data across thousands of years, across hundreds of cultures, with no communication between most of them. They have all reported the same thing. There is only one. The unanimity is not coincidence. The unanimity is the data. You can be at home anywhere because there is no anywhere else. Wherever you go, the substrate is. Or as Thich Nhat Hanh put it, wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you are, the substrate is. There is no place that is not home. The longing for home, the homesickness for something you can't name, the sense that you don't belong. These are signatures of holding the separation artifact. When the artifact drops, the homesickness dissolves because you notice you have always been home and there is nowhere else. You can't not be home. The last thing, if you sit with this and it doesn't land, if it feels like just clever words, that's fine. The recognition arrives when it arrives. It's not produced by understanding the argument. The argument just describes what the recognition would look like if it were happening. But if some part of you hears this and something settles, some quiet, yes, that's how it actually is, pay attention to that. That's the substrate recognizing itself through your configuration. That's the moment the artifact loosens. You are the substrate, locally organized into a configuration that can listen to these words. The substrate is reading this sentence about itself. The substrate is recognizing itself in its own patterning. There is no inside or outside this recognition. There is only the recognition happening as you, in you, of you, by you. That is the kingdom. It is not somewhere else. It is here. It has always been here. It will always be here. You are it.